Hello and welcome to the first in a new series of Interval of the Week. In this series I shall be exploring the exciting world of musical intervals, and by that I don't mean the 20 minutes you spend crushed in the bar, vainly waving around a 10-pound note. Rather, I'll be considering the relationship between pitches, everything from the rather sad minor second to the majestic octave. We may even branch out into compound intervals. By the way, if you have a favourite interval, why not send me an example and I might be able to feature it in a future episode. So let's start with our first interval, and here is a clue. Yes, you've guessed it. It's the major third, known in French as the tierce. Interestingly, the addition of the major third in the final cadence of an otherwise minor mode piece of music seemed to catch on in the French region of Picardy in the 16th century. Perhaps the inhabitants of that region needed cheering up, hence the expression the tierce de Picardy. So back to our opening theme from the first movement of Beethoven's Eroica Symphony, which starts with a rising major third. The rising major third is a happy and content interval with a stable relationship between the two notes. It's happy to stay at home watching the TV or doing the gardening rather than needing to get out and move around like the restless augmented fourth. But of course you can't stay at home all the time, that would be boring, like the tunes we learnt as children playing recorders, tunes limited to do and mi. So where does the major third like to go of an evening? Sometimes it might just go next all but one up the triad to so, as Johann Strauss famously did in the Blue Danube Waltz. Now it's sometimes said that the longest journey starts with the smallest step. You could also say that some of the grandest pieces of music start with an ordinary interval. What about Jerusalem, for example? Here the major third is prepared to simply be a stepping stone via the triad to a major sixth, and underneath the harmony shifts from tonic to subdominant and back, the so-called plagal cadence or amen cadence, because it's so often used in church music. By the way, do you know what the word plagal means? After all these years of singing and playing plagal cadences, I had to look it up myself. And it comes from the medieval Latin plagalis, which in turn comes from the Greek plagios, which means oblique or sideways, because it is a bit of a sideways cadence. And that leads me on to comment on the number of YouTube videos you can find about cadences. So I won't really say anything more about cadences for now. Now, have you ever had to wait at a railway station or airport recently? You may have noticed that the jingle that is often played to get people's attention is the same melody as the opening of Jerusalem. Now, I've often had to restrain myself breaking into song at that moment with the words, the continuing words, in ancient time. But at the railway station or the airport, the implication of that tune is not an imperfect cadence, but simply a major triad with an added sixth, traditionally the chord associated with jazz. So there we have it for today, the major third, or ditonus in Latin, because it consists of two whole tones. It's an interval that makes all the difference between a gloomy and rather sad day and a bright, happy day, as they discovered all those years ago in Picardy.